Chapter 4, Into a Different Dimension. As you know, Vladimir, some time ago on Earth there began an ice age. In those regions into which the glaciers advanced, the climate changed. The cooling made it impossible for many types of plants to grow. Areas that had been previously rich in forests, orchards, and lush grasses, interspersed with flowers, gradually turned into valleys covered with only scant vegetation. The people who were living at that time in one of the valleys in the foothills decided that it was impossible to continue living in the way they had been living under such cold conditions. They decided to leave their homes and head out in search of places with a more hospitable climate. The men headed out and took the lead. Following their tracks, the head of the family line, Wood, was leading the children, women, and old folks out of the settlement. Footnote: the name used here in the original is Vud, or Vud. The origin of this name is unknown. The gray-haired, 120-year-old elder walked at the head of the caravan of 11 mammoths laden with wicker baskets. The children were seated in one of them, and the others held food stores. After all, they did not know how long they would be traveling. Along both sides of the caravan of mammoths, the people of his family line and all the livestock who had resided in the family homestead settlement were on the move, on horseback and on foot. It seemed that all the living beings understood that it was essential for them to set off for new climes, and they followed the person. Only the plants had remained in the settlement. They had no way to move. Plants doomed to die. Wood was thinking things over, trying to answer the questions he had posed to himself. Why had these undesirable changes in nature occurred? Why had the cooling begun? Whose will had set this disaster in motion? Might it not become a disaster for all of the earth? Did man possess the power to do something to head it off? Might disasters result from man's actions? Wood understood that if the answers were not found, then a sad fate would await his children and grandchildren and his entire family line. He could see that all the adults who were now walking along in the caravan were viewing the changes in the natural world as a tragedy. Their faces were sad and thoughtful. Even the children had grown quiet and were on their guard. Only his little favorite, his 6-year-old great-granddaughter, Anasta, was frolicking. She had started up a game at the head of the caravan with the lead mammoth. Footnote: the name Anasta is meant to echo the name Anastasia. Wood observed his great-granddaughter's game with the mammoth leader, glancing at them out of the corner of his eye. She plopped the tip of the giant, 7-ton mammoth's trunk on her little shoulder and made believe that she was dragging the huge animal. And he, the mammoth, was playing along with her. Of course, he was carrying the whole weight of the trunk himself, touching the child's shoulder only very lightly with it. From time to time, Anasta would stop, as if to catch her breath, wipe the non-existent sweat from her brow, and say, "Oh my, how big you are! You're so heavy and lazy." The mammoth would nod his head, as if in agreement, flap his ears, and wipe his own brow with his trunk. Then he'd lay the tip of it on the little girl's shoulder once more, as if he could not move from the spot without her help. The game was funny and harmless. But the other game his great-granddaughter started up next, Wood did not like that one. Here is what it consisted of. Anasta would scramble up the mammoth's trunk, up to his head, and he would help her, curving his huge trunk and pushing the child higher with its tip. After getting herself settled atop the moving mammoth's head, Anasta would sit there for a while, and then suddenly utter a frightened "ah!" and swiftly slide down the trunk. The mammoth had to be very dexterous to manage to catch the child right above the ground and prevent her from hitting the ground or ending up beneath his massive feet. Wood was thinking over the past, trying to discover it, trying to discover in it the reason for the disaster that had forced his people to leave their native valley. But his reflections were constantly being interrupted by recollection pictures from the life of his great-granddaughter, Anasta. He did not push these pictures away. He liked them, and they distracted him from sorrowful thoughts about what had happened. At one point, Wood even smiled, recalling the way Anasta had registered her objection to an opinion that had been posited during one of their lessons. He saw the whole picture, down to the smallest detail. Wood was giving a lesson at that point. Children of various ages and 3 adults were sitting in front of him in a circle, beneath a spreading oak tree. Wood started off the lesson with the following words: